Even if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. That comes from Rush and free will. It also was borrowed from William Shakespeare. Let's start talking about decision making. Decision making at its core is, and I'm going to go a little bit Yoda here, but do or do not. We're either going to do something or we're not going to do something. On one side, we're going to do it, so do. On the other side, we are not going to do it. We're going to avoid. Do or do not. When we put that line in the middle, what we're doing is we're cutting things off. We're severing something. So we're deciding here, do we want to be on this side and do this work, or do we not want to do the work and be on this side? What do we want to do? What do we want to eliminate? That's decision making at its simplest form, the function of making a decision. So how do we get ourselves into a better position to make these decisions? Well, number one, we need to define what the decision is. What decision are we making? Once we've defined the what, then we can move into what criteria are we going to use. So what is first, two is criteria. When we work through the criteria really is how. How are we going to make the decision? And if you're constantly making a decision based on a single set of criteria, you're taking on a bit of risk. The reason you're taking on a little bit of risk is you're just kind of in that mode of do. Think about anything that's important that comes across, or anything that somebody says is urgent that comes across your desk. And you're like, I'll drop everything and I'll do it. I'll drop everything and I'll do it. And then at the end of the day, you realize, I've worked really, really hard over the course of the day, but it didn't achieve my actual objectives. I didn't achieve the results. And we'll move into a tool here in a little bit that's going to help on that. The first thing I want to understand is what's the specific decision? Define it. The second thing I want to understand is the criteria. How are we going to do it? We're either doing it or we're not doing it. Decision making is a key piece of being able to create focus inside your business. And you've seen this territory plan before. I'm actually going to line in a couple of lines. What happens if I add a perpendicular line here? And now I still have things in my do category up here, my do not down here. Okay. Then what happens if I add another line? I still have my do category over here, my do not over here. What happens if I add a fourth line? 1, 2, 3, 4. Do up here. Now I'm able to create a high level of focus, continuing to cut off certain things. This is the area chart that don't boil the ocean, create focus through lines of clarity tool that you see in the Catalyst logo. You've seen it a couple of times in different Catalyst logos. It's about creating that focus through lines of clarity. So do not. We're cutting off all of our do nots. Second tool that you can use is a 2x2. We're going to go ahead and use the Eisenhower Matrix and start with urgent. So not urgent, urgent. If I'm constantly doing all of the work that's urgent, everything that I'm doing is the stuff that just comes across my desk. I'm letting other people control my time from a time management perspective. If I add in a bump stop, a second set of criteria, and start to look at things that are important versus not important, now I have a second view, just a quick stop that will force me to pause, think, and then determine, do I do or do not? What I want to do are things that are in this important but not urgent area, which is kind of an interesting space because that's where you build bigger things for the long term. But if I'm constantly doing things that are urgent, I don't get to those important things that are not urgent, those things that are actually going to help build the business over the future. So 2x2 can help you create this slight bump stop, this pause, to help you think a little bit differently about the decision that you're going to make and not make a decision based on a single set of criteria. I'm going to give you another 2x2, and this is one that you've seen before. It's one that I created. It's one that I use relative to the whole stop what you would not start, like do meaningful work type stuff, which is energy versus impact. On one side, I've got sucks the life out of me. On another side, I've got builds me up. So I have things that suck the life out of me versus things that build me up. On my second axis, my y-axis, that bump stop, I've got high impact and I've got low impact. Impact for me is change. I want to do things that build me up, build energy, and have high impact on others, create bigger change for others. This is where I want to spend my time. If I find myself doing things that are high impact but are sucking the life out of me, I need to find somebody else to delegate them to. So I delegate those out. I add in systems and processes to take care of those things. If I'm over here on this low impact side of things, then I've got to ask the question, why am I doing it? Well, if it builds me up, like golf builds me up, then I'm refilling my cup, but it's things that aren't necessarily going to be the things I get paid to do, which are those high impact, high energy type things. How could you do this on your own? Come up with your own criteria, whatever they are. It could be urgent versus important. It could be impact versus energy. It could be something else. Come up with that criteria and you see how that helps you get better at specific decision making that aligns with your overall objectives, the things you want to accomplish. If you go back in time and you think about what decisions that you've made that just didn't end up working out the way that you wanted them to, you might find that there are a handful of criteria or things that got in the way. For me, it's ego and loyalty. Know what your things are that ultimately where you have blind spots and you might need other people to help you. And that's the whole point of bringing up these tools. These tools are simple tools to help create a slight pause, help you reveal blind spots, and then take action with purpose. Take action with purpose. We went through the territory plan piece. We went through the 2x2s. The third tool that I like to use in this context is an investment decision-making tool. And the first thing I want to understand is what's the decision that we're making? The second piece I want to understand is why. Why is it important to make? What's the business impact? If I know what and I know why, then I can get into how. How will we actually solve the problem, or how will we address the thing that we're working on? What's our plan, our 30, 60, 90? And then the last piece I want to understand are resources. At what cost? So that could be money, it could be people, it could be time. There's a couple of different things. So cost. If I understand what, why, how, and the cost, then I'll be in a position to make a more effective decision. I'll reduce blind spots by applying tools like this. So when it comes to decision making, remember, we want to understand our definition. What is the specific decision? We want to know what our criteria are, how we're going to make a decision. Another thing that I didn't talk about that I think is important to mention here is there are reversible decisions and then there are irreversible decisions. Think about it. If I decide to go through a door and it doesn't lock on me when I walk through it, I can always turn around and go back through that door. Now, if I'm constantly going back and forth through the same door, I might be in a lot of trouble. So I need to figure out, hey, how do I decide, commit, and continue to take action and move forward? But there are some decisions that are reversible. There are other decisions that are irreversible. If you're working through a reversible decision, maybe the speed at which you make decisions can go a little bit faster. Maybe you need to use fewer tools to go through and do it. But if you have an irreversible decision, something that you can't change, you've got to think more clearly about it. Work through that process of, hey, what's the worst that could happen? I'll give you an example. One person might be looking at this and say, and this is a lot of work to go through and figure out, do I decide something or do I not decide to do something? If you see a baby crawling toward the edge of a pool, don't go through a bunch of decision-making criteria. Just go take action and help get the baby out. Worst thing that could happen is a parent gets mad at you that you grabbed their kid. The worst thing that could happen is if you don't do that, is that kid's no longer there. So know the type of decision that you're going to make. Is it reversible or irreversible? Is it something that has to be done really quickly, or is it something where you can apply a bit of critical thinking and process? If you're going to apply critical thinking and process, do you have some criteria? Build out your criteria before you need to make a decision, and it will help enable and empower you to make better decisions quickly out in the field. Think about how you can apply this across your organization. The way that I like to apply this across organizations that I work with is in the context of guiding principles. A lot of people will get caught up on things like values. Values are personal. Guiding principles are something that can be aligned on. those principles can be used to help inform decisions that are made out in the field, how we actually operate. And if you push out that decision making further and further and further into your organization, your team's going to thrive, your people will move faster, and your business will grow faster. If you're looking for help in this area, this is one of the things that I do, both in the context of coaching one-on-one and advising or fractional type work in larger team environments. If you know somebody who would find this valuable, please share it with them. This shares help. If you have questions about this, ask. If you want to share your experience applying, whether that's the 2x2s, the investment decision-making framework, or the territory plan to your work, please share it. I love the shares. I like to see how this work is being applied. I want to see you learning something new, thinking, reflecting on how it applies to what you already know, and then taking action, putting the work into practice.